President Biden's national security advisor is in Tel Aviv right now for discussions, meeting with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, its defense minister as well, other members of the war cabinet. The White House said a major directive for Jake Sullivan is to pressure Israeli leaders to be more surgical and precise in their pursuit of Hamas in order to reduce harm to civilians.
But CNN is learning that thousands of the air-to-ground military weapons used in Gaza since the Hamas terror attack have been unguided. CNN national security reporter Natasha Bertrand is here with the details. This is illuminating reporting, especially in the wake of President Biden saying that Israel is engaged in indiscriminate bombing. What more are your U.S. intelligence sources telling you about this, Natasha?
Yeah, Pam, so what we learned is that the U.S. intelligence community assesses that of the roughly 29,000 air-to-ground munitions that Israel has dropped on Gaza over the last 2+ months, about 40 to 45% of those munitions have been unguided, also known as dumb bombs. Now, that stands in contrast, of course, to precision-guided munitions, which are sometimes laser-guided, GPS-guided, typically are more accurate and precise than unguided munitions, which experts told us really pose an elevated risk to civilians and can be less precise. And when you're talking about such a densely populated area like Gaza is, you know, the difference between a target reaching, a munition reaching its target within a few feet can mean a matter of life and death in such a densely populated area. And so the question is now, why is Israel using these dumb bombs? And we really don't have a great explanation at this point. The U.S. has provided Israel with the kinds of bomb kits that they can use to transform their munitions that they have in their stockpile into smart munitions, smart bombs that are, you know, GPS or laser guided or other forms of precision guided munitions. But the Israelis are still choosing to use in a very large proportion of the time these unguided munitions. And that really, according to the experts that we spoke to, undercuts the repeated Israeli argument that they are doing everything that they possibly can to minimize civilian casualties. Now, we did get a statement after we published this story from an IDF spokesperson who said that the type of munitions used in each strike is determined according to the characteristics of the target. And they said that they do take steps to mitigate the harm to civilians. But really, the sheer scale of the use of these dumb bombs has raised a lot of questions among experts about why Israel's using them, whether it's necessary, and of course, if it's true, then why they're saying that they're taking all of these steps to mitigate harm to civilians when these actually can pose a greater threat to them in the long run.
Yeah, and we should note it's not just Israeli officials saying they're doing everything they can to limit civilian casualties. The U.S. too. I mean, John Kirby, a spokesperson for the National Security Council, just said Wednesday that Israel is doing everything they can to reduce civilian casualties, and yet this reporting is coming out really raising a lot of questions about that. Natasha Bertrand, thank you so much. And a short time ago, the White House revealed more of what happened during Jake Sullivan's trip to Tel Aviv today.
Yeah, National Security Council official John Kirby said that Sullivan talked to Israeli leaders about transitioning from, quote, high-intensity operations to lower-intensity operations in the near future. Let's take you now to Israel with CNN correspondent Jeremy Diamond, who's live for us in Sderot. Jeremy, what are you learning about the meetings between the National Security Advisor and Israeli officials?
Well, these meetings really come at a critical point in Israel's war effort against Hamas in Gaza. It comes as not only the civilian death toll is mounting, but also as growing international pressure is also mounting on Israel and being acknowledged by the United States, including by President Biden just days ago, talking about Israel's indiscriminate bombing of Gaza. And so enter the picture Jake Sullivan meeting with top Israeli officials, including the Israeli Prime Minister, to discuss not only that mounting civilian death toll, the ways in which the United States wants Israel to be more targeted in its operations, but also beginning to think about a timetable for transitioning the high-intensity fighting and bombing of Gaza that we are seeing from Israeli forces right now to a lower-intensity phase. That's according to John Kirby, the National Security Council spokesman. There is an acknowledgement from the Israelis that that is part of the discussion here. But for now, the Israelis seem committed to maintaining this current tempo of the war effort for weeks, if not months to come. Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, we're told Jake Sullivan that this war could last more than several months. And the Israeli Prime Minister, for his part, he said that the fighting will continue until the complete destruction of Hamas, until victory. And so there is a question question here about whether the message from American officials is being received by the Israelis. We know that another key question that's being discussed is also the fate of Gaza after Hamas is destroyed, if indeed that goal is achieved, but also at the moment right now, the fate of those hostages, including at least 8 Americans who are believed to be held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. John Kirby also addressed that point moments ago.
We're still working by the hour to try to get a pause back in place so that hostages can get released. I'll let the Israelis speak to their negotiators and where they are and what they're going to focus on. I can tell you one of the things Jake's doing in the region. I mean, if you need proof that we still want to see a pause, just look at where the National Security Advisor is today.
And we know that there is an active effort by U.S. officials to try and restart those negotiations between Israel and Hamas, mediated by the Qatari government. For now, those talks have really broken down since that week-long truce between Israel and Hamas ended. And now there is an effort by the United States to discuss ideas with Israel, to bring those to the Qataris, to have them bring those ideas to Hamas. But for now, it appears that those negotiations are really going nowhere. The Israeli Prime Minister, though, after his meeting with Jake Sullivan, he did say that a main goal of this war effort is to secure the return and the release of those hostages. So we will see if there's any traction after Jake Sullivan's visit to the region.
Yeah, definitely a thread to keep an eye on there. Jeremy Diamond, thank you so much.